What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having an incredible day. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at DreamRare. You can follow me on Twitter at Legendary Energy. You can check out my website for more information, legendary.vision. And of course, follow along on Facebook. I do a lot of live streams and news analysis that I just really analyze the news and try to come from an unbiased, loving perspective, sprinkle some positivity, sprinkle some unity on the news. And that's very, very rare nowadays, because the title of this video, and I'm going to explain as people start getting in, is, are Twitter and Facebook literally trying to destroy America? Why is their news so dishonest? Why is their news so negative? Why is it so hateful and so one-sided? First of all, I want to say I had a live stream yesterday about Rose McGowan and Twitter. I deleted it. I wasn't feeling the vibes. I wasn't feeling the presentation. So I'm going to touch more on that here in this live stream. And the two important things I said in my last live stream before I start is Newly Press, which is a conservative or red pill type, I would say, Facebook page with like 400 to 600,000 likes. They got deleted off Facebook, which is alarming. That had a big influence on opening people's mind and expanding their perspective. It's gone. And Rose McGowan, of course, she's been going in on Harvey Weinstein. She went in on Twitter. She's starting a boycott of Twitter. And she's also calling out Jeff Bezos. She's starting to open her mind to how messed up these social medias really are, how dishonest, divisive, negative they are. And if you say what they don't want you to say, they will shut you down. Even if you're Rose McGowan, even if you're a social justice warrior and you're all about the LGBT community, they don't care. They just use these communities as shields, and they kind of hijacked feminism. They hijacked the LGBT community to push a divisive agenda that has nothing to do with women or the LGBT community. So every single day, to start off, I log into Facebook and Twitter, and the featured news section, you have to understand, Twitter and Facebook, they started as just a social media platform, which is a brilliant way to lure people in. It's a free social media platform. I'm very grateful for them. They're free. What can I say? Anytime we can stop using them. But they got people in, it's just a social media platform, but now they're major news platforms, and they have some of the biggest reach of any news. Definitely, even way bigger than TV news. So Facebook and Twitter, when it comes to news, they have a bigger influence than maybe all of the channels combined, because they reach every country. Facebook has billions, over 1 billion people. They might have surpassed 2 billion, I'm not sure, but Facebook's the biggest. Twitter has hundreds of millions, and they influence more people than TV ever could. And if you notice, on Facebook, there's about 10 featured stories a day. They change a little bit. And on Twitter, same thing. It's like featured story. They change every hour or every time you log in. And I haven't done a study on it. I probably could. And my guess, just off the bat, maybe I will do a study and I'll put it together over the next month to present real data. But I would say just off the bat, about 90 to 95% of the stories are in one direction, and upwards of 70 to 80% are just totally off, not even true, not even real. It's hard for some people to believe, like when I talk about Rose McGowan being red-pilled. I said that in my last live stream I deleted to get into it. Has nothing to do with conservatism, liberalism. The red pill is from the Matrix. Morpheus asked Neo, he says, take the blue pill. If you take the blue pill, you go back to sleep, you wake up, you're back in the 9 to 5, you sit at your cubicle, you believe the news, you believe everything you hear, and you just live a life of an illusion, a pure illusion. If you take the red pill, I will wake you up to the truth. And it is the same thing that's going on now. There is a matrix, a control system that is in structure, and it's hard for a lot of people to believe. People keep waking up to it every day, because once it turns on them, they realize, oh my God, Twitter doesn't want me to talk about Harvey Weinstein. Twitter doesn't want me to talk about this. They don't want me to talk about Jeff Bezos. They never did. They were just distracting you. Donald Trump, that's the shiny light. Look over there. I told people a year ago, if you don't like Donald Trump, stop talking about him. If you don't want him to win the presidency, don't even talk about him, because you give him all this energy, you give him all this time, he's going to win. Hold on 1 second. I'm just making sure I turn on my charger so my phone doesn't die. All right. So Donald Trump's the shiny object. Russia's the shiny object. They make all these fake stories. Literally, the whole Russia investigation, it's been going on for a year, and it went from like, oh, they hacked the election, to like, oh, they might have played Pokemon Go, It's a total distraction. So they're distracting good people, good-hearted people, people that care about the LGBT community, people that care about Black and Latino people and feel bad and, want to make it a better place for everybody in the world. They use and manipulate those types of people to wave a shiny object in the air so that all of their crime and corruption can be pretty much unseen. So Rose McGowan figured it out, and I've figured it out. Millions of people have figured it out. So the only thing they can do is to keep waving shiny objects, because if people ever come together, stop hating each other based on race, religion, gender, political party, sexual preference, if we just don't care about that stuff, there would be no issues. But Facebook and Twitter, especially Twitter, is the biggest culprit of dividing people. Every single day, it's a divisive story. In every single story, I've never seen one story put a libertarian or a conservative in a good light. I come from a liberal background. I don't really, I care about social justice and I care about the environment, but libertarians and conservatives at the core of it, they care about less government. They want less government involved in their personal lives. They want lower taxes. They want the freedom of speech, the Second Amendment. These are the basics to conservatism and libertarianism, even if you're not a conservative or libertarian. This is obvious. There's many brilliant conservatives. There's many brilliant conservative investigative journalists doing better work in Las Vegas than the police department and the mainstream media. So there's no need to hate. There's no need to hate liberals. There's no need to hate conservatives. But Twitter is 100% extreme left wing. I'm not talking regular left, extreme left. And they paint conservatives in a light. They've never once featured a story on a brilliant conservative or libertarian. Every single story is a divisive story. They're putting a conservative on blast for something he said about the LGBT community. They're taking fringe, minority conservatives that probably don't even exist. They might be staged, and if they're not, they're a small group that no one really likes or cares about. They put a microscope on that to paint this picture that all Trump supporters, all conservatives, all libertarians, where what they really want is no political correctness, more truth, less taxes, lower government, the things that liberals should want. They're like, oh, the police are corrupt, but let's give them militarized weapons and let's not have weapons ourselves. Makes no sense. Twitter every single day paints conservatives like they're neo-Nazis and Trump supporters like they're racist and neo-Nazis when they're not. And then they paint the LGBT community. It doesn't matter what they do. They could run up on the police with a knife and the whole story is like, oh my God, they're a hero. No offense, but no, you're not a hero. If you run up on the police with a knife and get shot, you're a moron. I don't care if you're lesbian, straight, Black, white, Latino, it doesn't matter. You're an idiot. At what point does self-accountability matter? Not on Twitter and not on Facebook, because they're no longer just social medias. They're no longer just news websites. They're essentially propaganda websites to lure everyone in one direction and divide people like never before. You never see on Twitter, you never see on Facebook, here's a brilliant conservative and here's a brilliant liberal. Here's a normal debate to talk about stuff. All they have is just random division, race, religion, and gender, using these things to pull people apart and make this fake outrage that doesn't even exist. Meanwhile, Puerto Rico, Houston, California, we have wildfires, floods, hurricanes, and we can't get to the bottom of that. We have border security, travel security, deals with countries. And it's not simply, I'm not saying to agree with conservatives. I'm not saying you have to agree with libertarians or agree with Trump. But the people of America and the people of the world have to realize, unless they want it to start affecting themselves, that these websites don't want you to get to a solution. All they do is lie about everything. So when it does come to the environment, when it does come to social justice, and when it does come to the privatized prison complex and, the war on drugs, we don't even have a conversation about them because they're too busy having people outraged about stuff that doesn't exist. Here's two disgusting headlines that I saw today on Twitter. This is Twitter to me. I live in California, so, it's based on where I'm living. One of the featured headlines said, German soccer players are now taking a knee. German soccer players are taking a knee? That's the featured story? How divisive could you get? First of all, the whole take a knee, don't take a knee, I love America, I hate America, I want it to be better, I want this, I hate Trump, I hate, police brutality is bad. Oh, but now Germany's in it? What does Germany know about anything? How about Germany focuses on their self. Why are they taking a knee, first of all? And second of all, why is that a featured story? It's a featured story to divide people and to fuel the anti-agenda of Trump. That's the only thing it's really there for. And then the second story, which blew my mind, was, Iranian citizens weigh in on Trump's, Iran deal. And it's basically a bunch of people from Iran saying, oh yeah, we don't agree with it and stuff. And I'm not trying to paint Iranians in a negative light. I have some supporters from Iran. I have some supporters from Turkey. And in both of those countries, they tell me, we can't even talk about politics. I can't even tell you how I feel because you're not allowed to say how you feel in those countries. But why is Twitter featuring a story in America about Iranians not being happy with the deal? This is bizarre. This is insane. You never see them talk to working class Americans. You never see them get the opinions from libertarians or liberals or progressives. Everything they do is 100% anti-American. It's not just pro-police brutality or pro-social justice. It's not just that. They've gone beyond. It's anti-America. You would think, if I didn't know any better, I would think that Twitter and Facebook are literally trying to destroy America. That's how aggressive they are. They don't talk to people from here. This is how disgusting those people are. They scream racism, sexism, xenophobia, and then they feature Iranian citizens. They talk to illegal immigrants in the United States, and illegal DACA members. While I have no problems with them, I respect them as human beings and Americans if they become that or if they are that. I'm not here to judge. I have no gavel. But why are they weighing in on the opinions of Iranian citizens and illegal citizens more than they do legal citizens? This is why Trump won. This is why Trump is going to win in 2020 again, because you're ignoring the exact people who voted for him. They still don't have a voice, and instead of learning from their mistakes, they've doubled down and said, you know what, instead of just not listening to them, we're going to call them all racist, sexist, not listen to them, and feature a bunch of stories that are completely fake. And when it comes to the corporate news, which Facebook is just 100% corporate news now, The Hill, NBC, ABC, CNN, occasionally Fox Business, you have to understand, the entire mainstream media is owned by 5 or 6 corporations. That means that, 5 or 6 corporations. They own CNN. They own Disney. Disney owns ESPN. They own ABC. They own CBS. Fox News. It's 5 or 6 corporations that owns all of the TV stations, all of the radio stations, almost all of the local newspapers. When you see LA Times or Boston Globe, they're owned by those same corporations. Do your research. And sprinkled in with a few billionaires, Carlos Slim has a big stake in the New York Times. Jeff Bezos bought out the Washington Post. There's a small group of elites who own all of the media. And here's what the mainstream media has done. From somebody myself who has lived my whole life basically on a hippie status, peace, love, positivity, but I'm not soft. That's the difference between me and other hippies. I'm a strong person. I'm a strong individual. I'm competitive. I know how the world works. I work hard. So I'm peace and love in my mind, but I'm also just not a complete pushover like a lot of the way they've molded people nowadays. But I'm all about love. I'm all about peace. And here's what truly happened to the mainstream media outlets. You've had every left-wing news outlet, which is CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, Vox, Newsweek, Huffington Post, The Hill. The Hill does semi-decent articles sometimes. Huffington Post has a few good authors. But the left wing has moved so far left. This is the news sources that I used to trust. They've moved so far left wing that they're like radicalized maniacs who are spreading misinformation, fear, negativity, and straight up lies. They'll lie just to be opposing to Trump. So they're so far left, and in some ways they either went extreme left or they flew extreme right, where if Trump makes a decision that's like anti-war, where he's like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna stop the deal in Syria and we're gonna switch up things, they've somehow spun it to now be even more right-wing than Republicans in some ways. They're like, oh my God, yeah, Paul Ryan and they're on par. John McCain, he's the new hero. It's like they're either extreme left wing or extreme right wing. So there's nothing central or normal. And these are the news sources that Twitter and Facebook feature because they're the trusted news. So 90%, 95% of the information we're receiving on Facebook and Twitter that reaches billions of people weekly, billions, it has a bigger influence. They're controlling that news, and it's 95% negative, 90 to 95% just completely dishonest and miserable. It's all just anti-Trump. These babies have no stances. Trump says wall, they say racist. Trump says border security or travel security, they say sexist and xenophobic. Trump says this, they say the world's going to end. They're self-manifesting. The negative crab haters are self-manifesting the implosion of the world to the point where it's like popular, people are like, yeah, the world's going to end, the world. It's like, you're going to make the world end because you have no solutions. I don't necessarily agree with the wall. I don't know if it's the greatest idea, but what's your solution? If a wall won't work, what will work? Because Obama deported 3 to 4 million people, 2 to 4 million people, where you read it. So he's deporting people. If we're going to be deporting millions of people, shouldn't we build a border or have some sort of security? So instead of being like a little game where we come over, send them back, come over, send them back, doesn't that make more sense to have like a normal order? But no, it's just racist and they have no opinions. This is what these news sources are feeding. Negativity, division, lack of discussion, fear, paranoia, anger, hate conservatives, hate libertarians. You know the reason they want you to hate conservatives and libertarians is because, not because they're racist, not because they're sexist, it's because conservatives and libertarians, they know what the big corporations are doing. Conservatives and libertarians, they know what the government's doing. That's why they're trying to make it smaller. So everything is just so twisted, 1,000%. And even right-wing news sources like Fox News, who I've never liked my whole life, they've even moved left. You have people like Shepard, whatever, who is basically like an MSNBC host on Fox, which is fine. Balance it out. They have real discussions. You have Tucker Carlson, who's having people on that disagree with him from Antifa, from Planned Parenthood. There's real discussions. So Fox moved left. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they're completely honest, but they've moved left, and the other news sources have moved so far left that they're not even like humans anymore. They're dehumanizing the president. They're like, we can't talk to him. You have all the celebrities and all the talk show hosts are literally just puppets. This is how real the control system, the Matrix is. Rose McGowan's starting to figure it out. As Hollywood self-implodes, they're going to start figuring it out because it's going to be figured out at a certain point because it's the reality. Just because you ignore it and you think everything's racist and sexist and Trump's so bad, it doesn't mean that everything's going to change just because people aren't aware. So it's great to see celebrities waking up to the reality that these social media units, which are now news stations, are almost 100% negative, 100% divisive. There's no such thing as a discussion. They're giving platforms to illegal citizens and Iranians and people from other countries before they even give platforms to American people. Do they even like this country? Are they trying to destroy it? You have people like George Bush, who has long admitted that he wants a new world order. You have people like George Soros, who's funding the women's movement, who's funding social justice movements, who's funding the resistance and anti-Trump movements, who's destroyed multiple economies in Malaysia, Japan, 10 plus countries. He's banned from his own place in Hungary. They call him a devil. He's banned from Israel. He's banned from Russia. And he's running rampant in the U.S. And there's news clips, I shared it earlier this week, of him literally saying that he wants a financial world order. And in that financial world order that he thinks is going to come, he says China's going to be running it and they're going to be dragging along the U.S. like a dead deer on a street, just dragging us along. Does that sound like something that any American should want? China dragging us along? Meanwhile, in China, the air pollution kills 3 to 5 million people a year just from air pollution. They're working in sweatshops and they have suicide nets at the Apple factories just in case they kill themselves because they work such long hours and low wages. Bernie Sanders wants to talk about long hours and low wages. Look at China and look at the fact that all of the news sources that Bernie Sanders posts, oh, The Hill, oh, the Washington Post, New York Times, those same people are collaborating with the people that tell us that we're going to end up like China, that China's just going to run us over. So Donald Trump, in essence, whether you love him or hate him, he's the opposite of what they're telling you. He loves America, and he's trying to save us from being completely engulfed by these other corporations and these other countries. Meanwhile, who even owns Twitter? Like, are they just like passive-aggressive hipsters who hate themselves and who hate America? Or are they, bought out by Saudi Arabia and China? Because it's really hard to tell. In Facebook, we know that Facebook colluded with Hillary Clinton's campaign because the emails are sent out where the COO, Cheryl, whatever her name is like, let me know how I can help. We're here to help you. We're here to serve you. So we know what their true agenda is. We know what they're working with. Rose McGowan, now that she's calling out Jeff Bezos, look who Jeff Bezos, look what he owns, the Washington Post. Look who he has a $600 million cloud contract with. You can Google it and find out for yourself, or use DuckDuckGo or Bing. I don't really care. But start to connect the dots, because once you start connecting the dots, you start realizing this whole matrix, it needs to be understood. It needs to be exposed, because we are being blasted with negativity, with hate, with misinformation, with propaganda. While they point the finger at Russia, oh, Russia's propagandizing the U.S. because they're playing Pokemon Go. What? That's literally the news story this week, is that Russia's infiltrating Pokemon Go. Really? Because there's other entities infiltrating Facebook, Twitter, Google. What's a bigger deal? $50,000 in Russian ads that is literally a social justice activist, or $1.1 billion in Facebook, Twitter, Google, all of the search engines, all of the news websites. It's a big game. It's a big control system where they're literally just lying, hating, and pushing propaganda. When you come to the core issues of a true liberal and a true conservative, they all want freedom, justice, equality, social justice. They just have minor differences like more government, less government. We need to help here. We need to stay out of our lives. The whole fight that's going on now that Eminem's rapping about, he's like, oh, tiki torches, and what does drain the swamp mean? It's all manufactured. Eminem is now just a socially engineered hip-hop artist who's spewing out CNN and MSNBC talking points. And I understand why, because you have to be very intelligent and very aware to even notice this stuff. Because if you're just a casual user, like, oh, I don't like the news, or I don't like Donald Trump, and I mean, it's nearly impossible to get the truth. It's nearly impossible to get some, bipartisan, accurate truth. Even the central news websites are not central. CNN could not be more dishonest. All they do is lie, spread fear and hate. And I'm just a little tired of waking up every morning and seeing all this stuff. I just hope people realize and understand. I'm not telling you which side to lean. I'm not telling you who to support. But just know, they're not trying to have a conversation. They're not trying to bring people together. They're not trying to fuel the social justice movements because they want to help people. They're trying to, in essence, whether they realize it or not, destroy America. Just completely ruin everything. There's no right or wrong anymore. There's no common sense. There's no honesty. They're literally just trying to do the opposite of what Donald Trump says and paint 100 million people in the United States like neo-Nazis. And it's just so far from the truth. People like Bannon, whether you love him or hate him, he was the only person in the White House that was anti-war and anti-military industrial complex. And they told you he was all these things that he wasn't. Now he's gone, so now there's more military industrial complex. That's what's at the root of this stuff. It's the wars, it's the financial system, it's the control system, it's the mind-controlled media. It's hard to believe for some because we've taken the blue pill our whole life. We've sat in desks at school. We've watched the news. We've listened to people who watch the news. They told us, don't question anything. Don't ask questions. Don't do this. Go to work. You have to do this. You have to eat these foods. What Twitter and Facebook are pushing out, it's equivalent to eating butter all day for your mind. It's like if you opened if your whole house, you woke up and there was just butter everywhere and you had no vegetables, you had no water, just butter, eating butter all the time. That's equivalent to what CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times, it's equivalent to what they're doing. And those websites are the ones that get prioritized on Facebook. So the whole Facebook news section is dishonest, negative, and completely lopsided and one-sided. They're trying to paint everything racist, sexist, and xenophobic so you can't have a discussion. Border security, racist. Oh, so what's your opinion? No, it's racist. Like, so what's your solution for it? Oh, there is no solution. We don't own America. It was the Native American. Okay, so what should we do? No laws, no borders, no. Should we just surrender now and, let people just, come over on ships and just kill us all because we feel bad? I mean, I don't understand the end game that these news websites have and people who believe it. We have to be smart moving forward, and we really, 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 whether you love or hate the president, I don't care. I want to hold him accountable, but Facebook and Twitter make it impossible to hold Donald Trump accountable. If you don't like Donald Trump, Twitter and Facebook are not your friends. They lie and push misinformation and get you all worked up on emotions for things that aren't real. So all the real stuff that Donald Trump does that we should be scrutinizing, we can't have a conversation on because they're too busy pointing a shiny object. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that Twitter would lie. It's hard to believe that Facebook would lie. It's hard to believe that CNN and MSNBC would lie. It's hard to believe that, all the journalists are bought out. And you could see it with this Las Vegas shooting. There's independent journalist there, Laura Loomer, who's just an angry Jewish woman who's like, I'm going to investigate myself. She's finding out stuff before the FBI and the Las Vegas Police Department. A week before they broke the news that the shooter was there 3 days earlier in the hotel, Laura Loomer broke it on Twitter. So why do you think they're kicking off Rose McGowan? Why do you think they're demonetizing everybody on Facebook? Why do you think now I could get 100 million views on YouTube and not get a single dollar for it? It's because they don't want people to know the truth. Internet brought the truth. It brought discussion. It brought real unity. It brought all of these cultures coming together. And they want to destroy it. I don't know why. I don't know their end game, because it's going to backfire on Facebook. It's going to backfire on Twitter. And it already is. And this is just the beginning. Because the wormhole is open. The matrix has been cracked. Donald Trump cracked the matrix. Bernie Sanders, before he sold out, and started just being angry all the time, he cracked the matrix. I cracked the matrix. Alex Jones cracked the matrix. Rose McGowan is cracking the matrix. Even Colin Kaepernick, when he took a knee. There's little things, we don't have to agree on everything, but there's people who are cracking the control systems. And all I have to say to people is, if you're talking to somebody who disagrees with you, I know a lot of people, we get frustrated, we get upset. I do all the time because things are so bananas, but be nice to people. Have a conversation. Tell them to consider and just have a nice conversation. Don't yell at people. Don't call them names. Don't be rude, and don't be like, oh, you're brainwashed, you're this, you're that. Try to be as nice and fair and chill as possible, because that's when you do the real damage. That's when there's brilliant documentaries on what's it called? Netflix, where this guy, Daryl Davis, I speak about it sometimes, he got like 20 KKK members in the 60s and 70s to quit the KKK. He didn't do it by screaming at them. He didn't do it by blasting it all over the news and saying that everybody's KKK members. He did it by going to those people and showing them that he's a better person than their white friends were. So they were like, man, I'm not racist anymore because I like this guy more than I like my white friends. So they started quitting. It's the same way. There was another, viral video, like one of the only positive ones on Twitter, where it was like a neo-Nazi guy who had all these tattoos who went to jail, and his parole officer was a very nice black woman. And he got his tattoo covered and was like, I feel so ashamed. I feel so embarrassed that I felt that way. It sounds weird. It sounds crazy. And I know people will give me all these labels. I don't sympathize in any way with neo-Nazis, but I'm saying even people I hate and disagree with the most, the way to change their mind is not to scream and yell at them. It's to be nice and have a conversation with them. So liberal, progressive, conservative, extreme right-wing, extreme left-wing, have a conversation and just stop yelling at each other. That's what Facebook wants. That's what Twitter wants. Yelling at each other and lying about everything, that helps Donald Trump. That helps, the control system. Whether you love or hate, whatever, I don't care. But what I do care about is Facebook and Twitter is anti-America, anti-truth. YouTube is anti-truth. Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of the big news sources, I want them to be successful. Stop lying. Stop dividing. Stop hating. Stop painting people who want less government control as, wild white supremacists when it's not true. They just want less government and more freedom. That's what everybody wants, but they're tricking people into thinking less government and more freedoms means more government and less freedom. They're using the social justice movement. They're using the LGBT movement. They're using all of these things, propaganda on social media, to move people further left and give more control to the government. As soon as the Vegas shooting happened, what's the first thing they all did? None of the major news hosts, none of them did investigations. None of them tried to solve. The mystery's still unsolved. The timeline changes every single day. It's changing. Jesus Campos just disappeared. The guy who was like, oh, I got shot after, I got shot before. Nothing about it's real. And none of the late night news hosts are trying to investigate it. They're trying to tell people to stop investigating it, and they're trying to tell you, oh, we need more gun control. How about we solve it first before we start blaming individual citizens or laws? It has nothing to do with the law. The law is not abiding the law. They're not doing real investigations. Journalists are not journalists. And if you're a real journalist like me or Laura Luma or somebody, they try to silence you and they try to steal all your money. That's the reality we live in. I didn't ask for it. I don't wish it on anybody, but it's just the truth. So more love, knowledge, wisdom, truth. Let's keep spreading that, and let's realize whether you're left or right, dive deeper into what they're saying, because every day we're just blasted with negativity, blasted with hate, blasted with misinformation, and it's just too much to endure sometimes. So we really have to understand this, stop sharing all these articles, and come together and have real discussions left to right to make real solutions, because they're literally like fueling, they're like Iran, North Korea. I mean, these websites, Facebook and Twitter, and like extremist liberals and extremist Trump haters, they would rather North Korea kill us or Iran kill us than to have Donald Trump succeed. Like, they're all, the trendy thing to do now in the resistance is like, oh yeah, the world's gonna end, we're all gonna die. Like, that's literally their thought. So they're manifesting that in the world. They're like, oh, they can't fathom that Donald Trump might be right or might be honest about something. They're like, yeah, please kill us, North Korea. America, we're so bad, we're so racist. North Korea's so good, even though it's basically slavery there. They don't have electricity. They don't have doctors. Like, you know, millions of people are blind because they don't have access to basic health care. But yeah, please destroy us, Kim Jong-un, because I feel so bad because, you know, that's literally the reality we live in. People need to relax. Twitter needs to relax and realize we're not going to put up, or at least we don't believe anymore, all of this negativity. If you keep doing this, you're going to give more power to Trump. He's never going to lose because people are sick of it. Americans are sick of being called names. We're sick of being lied to. We're sick of being labeled. We're sick of the 95% negative, hateful, and dishonest news that Twitter and Facebook blast to us. And now YouTube, as I've explained before I leave, they've demonetized independent journalists. So Jimmy Kimmel's, the Young Turks, all of the major news stations are getting millions of dollars, and independent journalists telling the truth get $0. And that crackdown is going to keep coming and coming and coming under the scribe of social justice and the LGBT community. They're using these as a cloak to silence people. And Rose McGowan and the social justice warriors that are waking up a little bit because of the Harvey Weinstein, you're going to realize, doesn't matter if it's Harvey Weinstein, Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Gary Johnson, libertarianism, if it doesn't fit that agenda of control, they're going to kick you off Twitter. They're going to silence you. So we need to come together. Share this video if you'd like, tag people in it, or don't. I don't really care. I'm going to enjoy my weekend, and thank you guys for joining. I'm going to post my link below if you would like to donate. It helps a lot, and I'm working hard to get other ways. A podcast coming soon where I'm going to have discussions. Since I complain, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, my actions. I don't like that there's no real conversations being had, so I'm going to get people, conservative, liberal, all my good friends, people in the music industry. We're going to have real discussions, real unity, real love, and bring people together and show the best of all worlds. So I don't just complain. I'm going to do it myself. So podcast coming, of course, a lot of news analysis, and the donations are incredible. Until I can further monetize and do speeches at schools and stuff, that's the, you know, where I'm getting a majority of it. So if you would like me to come to a school near you or something, try to let them know, and maybe they could book me for an appearance. I'd love to start doing those. But until then, more analysis, more stuff. Thank you guys so much. I'm very appreciative. It was my birthday a few days ago too, so I'm going to enjoy this weekend, probably take a break. I'll be back Monday or tomorrow. Thank you.